No, people, video games and anime are not just for kids. Stop living in the past, please. Viewer discretion is heavily advised, so parents, please control what your kids watch on the internet. Persona 5 The Royal, a game that has been hyped ever since the very first trailer. Is it super long? Yes. Is it better than the original game? Yes. Do you need to understand Japanese in order to play it? No. If you're like me and you cannot wait for the worldwide release of this game, don't hesitate to buy it now. If you can afford it, that is. So what exactly is this game for those of you who are new? Persona 5 Royal is an extended version of the original Persona 5 game that came out in 2016. It is a JRPG game that uses social simulation and turn-based combat. You play as Rin, codenamed Joker, who is your typical silent protagonist who is not so silent. Sometimes he actually speaks. One day he finds a woman being attacked by a drunk man who claims that the police are his bitches.
Call them if you want. The police are my bitches.
And he clearly demonstrates this moments later when he gets our hero arrested simply because he tried to help her out. He is then placed on probation for a year and transferred to a new school. He notices a very strange app on his phone, tries to remove it, but it just will not go away. One day he wakes up and suddenly finds himself inside of a prison cell, which is actually the Velvet Room. But don't worry, it's all just a dream. He befriends a guy named Ryuji, and on their way to school, they suddenly find themselves inside of a castle. They are eventually attacked and captured by shadows led by a man dressed in a cape and nothing but his underwear, who looks like a teacher at their school named Kamoshida. Our hero eventually summons his persona and easily overpowers them. They find a small creature who looks kinda like a cat, and it can talk, and also has the ability to summon a persona, and he helps them escape. But for some reason, Ryuji wants to go back inside. They find the talking cat again and learn that the place they are in is actually called the Metaverse, a place where a person's deepest desires can take physical forms. They are once again captured by shadows, and Ryuji summons his persona and fights back. After witnessing firsthand what their PE teacher's true desires are, they plot to rally the school against him, but everybody here is too much of a pussy to fight back. Our hero later befriends a beautiful and sexy girl named Anta Kamiki, who is being blackmailed by Kamoshida. She leads him on only so that she can help out her best friend, but after a series of events, she decides that Kamoshida is a serious asshole and he needs to be stopped at all costs. She follows our hero and accidentally ends up in the metaverse herself and is later captured by shadows, but then she summons her persona and easily disposes of them. The talking cat explains that we can turn Kamoshida into a good guy by stealing the treasure inside of his palace, thus the birth of the Phantom Thieves. Now that the introductions are over, let's talk about the reason why most of you are here. What has changed in Persona 5 Royale? A lot has changed. For starters, of course, there's a brand new party member named Kasumi. She appears very often throughout the story and she has her own confidant. It's pretty useful, so make sure you max it out as soon as possible. There's also two other new important characters in the game, the Counselor and Jose, but more on Jose later. The Counselor also has a brand new social link, and this one is extremely useful, so make absolutely sure that you max it out as soon as you can. There have been many changes to the daily activities, and listing all of them will take forever, but just know that these changes were made so that raising your social stats will not be as tedious as it was before in the original game. Pretty much every shop in the game has changed, but this is okay because just about all of them sucked in the original game, except for the clinic, who pretty much hasn't changed at all. If it isn't broke, don't fix it. There's a brand new area in the game and you are going to be spending a lot of time here. I cannot do everything that there's to do in this town simply because I cannot read Japanese very well. But there are two areas that are very interesting. The pool game improves your technical damage in battle, while playing darts improves your baton passing abilities in battle. My favorite addition to the game, and probably the most broken one of them all, is the Jazz Club. Here, you spend time with your friends to level them up, increase their stats, and even teach them brand new abilities. Example, Makoto can now learn Concentrate. There are some other small changes here and there, and like I said, if I list them all, this video would take forever. But these are the ones I find the most interesting. Are there any changes to the palace? Of course there are. For the most part, the palaces are just like they were before, but eventually you will come to a new area with new puzzles to solve and such. They've also added a lot more save rooms, because apparently the game is too hard for casual players. Joker now has a grappling hook, which you will be using very often, but of course, you can't just use it freely anytime you wish. You can only use it in certain spots to reach unreachable areas. Unlike before, however, the security rating starts at 40% the moment you start a palace, and it raises a lot more too when you're spotted. I think this move was made to try to force people into actually doing the Devil Confidant, because let's be honest, nobody used it before. But for speedrunners such as myself, it's even more useless now than it was before, simply because you cannot get kicked out of a palace. Just about every treasure in these palaces has completely changed, so don't go in looking for the same stuff you used before. One thing you most definitely should take note of are the red shadows. These things fucking suck. They are a lot more dangerous now than they were before. They kind of have the Pokemon treatment. You can't simply knock them down and bargain with them like every other shadow in the game. You have to actually greatly damage them first before they'll talk to you. But if you encounter one of these things, your main concern should be trying to stay alive. The most interesting addition to the palaces are the Ishi items, and I don't even know if I'm saying that right. Every palace has 3 of these. The first 2 require you to simply find them. Some of them are easy to find, and some of them are pretty damn hard to find. The third one always requires you to defeat an optional boss, and don't worry, most of them are pretty easy to beat. After you collect all 3 Ishis in the palace, you will receive a very unique accessory. The most unique of these is the one inside Madarame's palace. This accessory completely removes all of your weaknesses off your persona. That is very good. Unfortunately, the boss guarding this can be quite frustrating to beat at lower level. Speaking of which, if you're too lazy to grind to beat the boss guarding it, do not worry, because if you spend enough time in Mementos, eventually you will collect enough points and you can simply buy it. So what about the combat? Oh boy, here we go. For starters, all of your characters automatically start with Baton Pass. As I said before, you can improve your Baton Pass performance by playing the darts game, and trust me, you are going to be Baton Passing a lot in this game, so make sure you do this. Another good change is when you're being ambushed. In the original game, this usually means you die. However, in Persona 5 Royale, anytime you get ambushed, your characters are automatically defending, and that makes surviving much easier. Guns have a lot lesser bullets now than they did before. However, in exchange, the ammo automatically refills after every battle. I actually did not spend a lot of time on the gun customization because unfortunately, my Google app did not do a very good job at translating it. Many battles in the game have been altered in some way or another. The purpose of this is to try to provoke you into using the new mechanics in the game. There are many new usable items in the game that hit enemies with stats effects. You can then follow up with technical damage and even knock them down for one more. A perfect example of this is Kinky. In the original game, he is weak to psychic attacks. However, in Persona 5 Royal, he has no weaknesses. The best way to defeat him is to hit him with stats effects and then follow up with technical damage. On rare occasions, you will see a shadow covered in dark aura. This shadow will counterattack anything you do to it if you don't knock it down, even if you miss. It also cannot be bargained with. When you defeat it, it explodes and every shadow around it normally just dies. Another interesting change are skill accessories. These accessories allow your party members to use skills that they normally wouldn't be able to use. Example, early in the game, you will find a Garu skill accessory, which lets any one of your allies cast a Garu skill. Very helpful for more coverage. And now for the Showtime attacks. These are really good. If you've ever played Persona 4 Golden, this will look very familiar to you. But it's 10 times better for 3 reasons. First, they can be activated randomly anytime in battle. Second, you only need one of the allies required in your party to activate it. Even if the other party member is not in the current battle, you can still perform the Showtime event. And third, and most importantly, unlike in Persona 4 Golden, these things actually do a lot of damage. And yes, you can even use them on boss fights. But unfortunately, they do have a very bad habit of being activated when the enemy only has like 5 HP left. Some of the sub-bosses have been completely changed. Archangel has been greatly nerfed since he caused so much havoc in the original game. Some bosses have been replaced with other bosses. Shikyochi is now the Red Shadow in the second palace, and his boss fight has been replaced by this thing. As for the main bosses themselves, they all have new tricks up their sleeve, so do not go in expecting the very same fight as you had before. Overall, it will definitely feel like a new experience, and I think you will enjoy all of these changes. Personas and the Velvet Room. As you already know, there are 2 brand new Arcaners. There are also many new personas. Some of the older personas have had their Arcana changed, like Dekarabia and Siegfried. As you would imagine, some of the fusion formulas have changed as well. Some personas have been buffed, while others have been greatly nerfed. New to the game are persona characteristics. Every persona has a special ability, and please do not ignore these because some of them are very, very good. And yes, you can transfer one ability from one persona to another. My personal favorite one is Arahabaki. His special ability makes you immune to all status effects. There haven't been many changes to the skill. Most of them are exactly as they were before, except for the status effects, which unfortunately do not linger on as long as they did before. One notable change, however, is Swift Strike. Apparently Atlas knows how dumb this attack was in the original version, so they nerfed it. Instead of doing 3 to 4 hits, now it does 2 to 4 hits. Also, Giri Makala no longer automatically starts with it. It has been replaced with Deathbound. This is a heartbreaking loss to speedrunners, and in all honesty, I truly believe that this move was made specifically to target us. But do not worry, we will adapt. During the events of the 3rd palace, you will be introduced to the Red Velvet Room, a pretty broken new mechanic. During this time, when you fuse a persona, they will gain bonus stats, and if you choose to, some of their abilities will change. Very similar to skill change in Persona 3 and 4. If you fuse again before leaving, it is guaranteed to be a fusion accident. If you use that very same persona that you made, which will be highlighted in yellow, not only will it be a fusion accident, but every one of his skills will completely change into something else. This is a great way to get powerful skills early on in the game. If you use the gallows during the Red Velvet Room, the persona will get more experience points. If you use the electric chair, the said item will be morphed into a more powerful item. You can now use the electric chair as many times as you see fit in the same day. There are also new challenge modes that you can do. These do not result in the game over, so don't worry if you lose. And I haven't completed all of them yet, but just note that some of them are pretty fucking hard. Another notable change is special treatment from the wardens. In the original game, you got this at rank 10. However, in Persona 5 Royale, you get this at rank 5, which means once you reach level 25, you can make pretty much any persona you want. If you're rich anyway. Mementos ignored the hell out of many people before because they said it was just too boring and repetitive. Well, I got news for you. This time you're going to be spending a lot of time down here. As I said before, there's another new character, Jose. I don't know his place in the plot of the story, but his main purpose is to make your Mementos grinding a lot less tedious than it was before. As you travel down Mementos, you will find star orbs and star points. I don't know what the hell they are, but you can use these items to buy some very useful stuff from Jose. You can even use these to change Mementos around. You can get more items, more money, and more experience points. Unfortunately, the Reaper is no longer affected by the flu. But don't worry, there's a much better way to grind. Ryuji's Instant Kill. Rejoice people, because this thing has been completely fixed. Now, anytime you use Instant Kill, you will get money, items, and experience points. You even have complete control over when you decide to use it. There's a brand new area in Mementos that opens up during the 3rd semester. I can't talk about it too much because doing so would spoil the story, but just note that there are some pretty dangerous enemies down here. As for the new party member Kasumi, well, I could talk about her, but saying anything will spoil the game completely. Yes, she's strong, yes, she's very useful in certain fights, and yes, she is really, really hot. As for the multiple endings, well, let's just say there's definitely something that must be done in order to get the true ending, but saying anything about that would also completely spoil the game. So, you're just going to have to find out for yourself. Look it up online at your own risk. You have been warned, because the wiki does not know how to tell you something without spoiling the game in the first 2 sentences. So while this is definitely not a perfect game, it was definitely worth the wait and has become my favorite video game of all time. And again, if you have knowledge of the original game, for the most part, you'll feel right at home. You do not need to wait for this game to come out in English. And if you still need help, you can use the Google Translate app, which isn't 100% accurate, but it will point you in the right direction for the most part. That's pretty much all I got for this video. If there's something you think I missed, please note it in the comments. Thank you for watching. Hope this video was very informative, and I will see you later. DK out.
Baby, baby, He said get the fuck in!